welcome to Editing with My Wife, now with a trigger warning. Cheesy, what kind of podcast are we doing here?
Today we're doing a podcast that talks about self-harm.
Yeah, it's not in any kind of positive way. Maybe it kind
odd.
of.
It's context to the story.
Maybe.
It's odd. It's context to the story. That's all.
In a way that someone
aware.
is talking about it with people they love and trust.
And they're saying don't do it. They're not saying to do it. There's no wish for it, no act of it happening.
Start with a recap.
Let's start with a recap.
Recap.
I don't want you to read the sentences. I want you to describe what the sentences are saying.
You want me to describe it? Okay. So in chapter 9, too many questions. They forge return to Zig with Mom, Dad, and Katie. And they end up in Home, which is the name of the place where Zig resides. They go up to the mountain, they find buttons that they can eat what they want, whatever that may be in the forefront of their consciousness.
It's on the table themselves, the three buttons. One for
buttons.
drink, one for food, and one for emptying the space.
Which, let me tell you, I wish I had that all the time.
Me too.
It'd be amazing. Especially the button.
Let's work on it, scientists.
Especially the button that clears everything away. Like, the cleaning up of eating is the worst part of it. The cooking of it is fun. The cleaning is not. Zig makes emerald gateways that lead to fun.
It's to the various places.
I'm just reading the lines.
It's to the various places, other
Yes.
spaces on Zig that are entertaining.
In
otherwise.
almost a way that makes it like he was trying to. You said it, and I can't remember what you had said last time. He's like a distraction. He's like trying to distract everybody at a moment. And the only person that stays behind is Leslie, and she asks questions.
You got some questions for Zig.
She's
Nothing
a
too
curious
serious.
mind.
Then,
Give me a second. I'll take it back.
and then they start their days living in the stars.
Living in the Stars, Chapter 10. Otto has a really, really tough talk with his dad. And Dad gets the idea that it was uncomfortable, so they go find Hannah. But when they find Hannah, the thing that Hannah was nervous about comes to light. So she has to talk to her dad about that. They realize that the girls' mom is still alive, and they start looking for Infra mom.
And then you hear little things about the end of the stay there. And
That has HQ in it.
that has HQ in it. HQ exists in this, doesn't it?
I think they.
Or am I mixing it up with the next chapter?
I think you're mixing it up with the next chapter. I think they go to.
The last part of this is the Leslie and Robert are at the bottom of the lake, hallucinating Highlander.
Yeah, truly it is.
Healing.
Yeah, truly it is. Truly it is. All right, back to the story then. This is it. The last few days.
The last few days. Otto and his sisters were sitting on the forest floor, cross-legged in a circle, each holding a brown and white mushroom that tasted like brown sugar and marshmallow. They had been nibbling at them for the past 15 minutes. Hannah giggled. I think it's starting. And then she took the rest of the mushroom and put it in her mouth.
Did Zig tell you what to expect?
Did Zig tell you what to expect?
Otto asked, hoping for a clear and succinct answer, but what he got back was Izzy giggling and shaking her head.
Screw it. I'm along for the ride.
He quickly put the rest of his mushroom.
Still giggling.
Whoa, you
Sorry, in his mouth. Izzy still giggling followed suit. After only a second, they were all giggling.
You sound like Dad, Hannah said.
How do you know?
Otto started, but then he felt it. It was like everything made you happy. Even if you were being stabbed in the eye, you would scream in delight. However... Whoa.
Right. Yep, that's double type. Whoops.
Okay. There, however, was another feature of the drug. It made you want to say things. But not just anything. The words that were most often unspoken. Izzy hit first. I'm so scared that one day I'm gonna winch one of you, but get a dead body. And they all broke out in uproarious laughter.
I hope that never happens.
Otto said, still laughing. Hannah was next. I'm so sad I'm gonna outlive you guys that I've been contemplating suicide. They were now incapacitated by their laughing. After a few moments, they had regained themselves. Otto said,
I've been thinking about killing myself too. Watching Mom and Dad was really hard.
There was a few stifled laughter, then more laughing. They were coughing now. They took a second before Hannah giggled. I think I know what the drug does.
It's like everything is so funny.
Nothing we said should be laughed at, even remotely. But I can't help it, Izzy said, taking a bite of some of Otto's nuts. Then she laid on the ground and let out a sigh. Otto looked around.
I need to pee. Excuse me.
As Otto got up, he felt lightheaded, like when you laugh too hard. He stumbled near some bushes, but got a hand from a nearby tree. Is Zig okay with that? Izzy absentmindedly wondered. Hannah crawled over and lay next to her and held her hand, moaning into her ear. It's a weird way to put it. Okay.
I don't want to die.
I don't want to watch you die. It's okay. I don't want you to either, Izzy said amongst their laughter. Which, it's hard to laugh and talk at the same time, so I might not be doing that as much. Okay. Where do you think I'm going to be in 1,000 years? Hannah said behind a laugh. Izzy broke out in a fit of laughter. Do you want to go anywhere besides Earth? Izzy asked. Otto came back stumbling, laid next to the girls.
I think you're gonna be a superhero. We could call you Metal Lady or Super Metal Lady. I don't know what they'll call you, but you'll be a hero. You've always been a hero to us.
Izzy stood up. Let's play hide and go seek. The forest is the boundary, and stay far away from the stump as you can. No powers. She helped the other two, then took off saying, "Not it!" Hannah was faster. Before he knew it, he was alone. He began counting. He got to 25 and then began to search for his sisters. Let hooded.
No. Keep reading.
Clack, clacks.
Keep going.
Renner and Katie were running along the outside of Zig. Renner was staring off into space. Okay, I get how you're trying to save the galaxy and all, but what are you saving it from? Katie asked.
Itself, I think.
Renner said, still staring out the window.
Yeah, but like,
Excuse me.
what's gonna happen?
Yeah, but like, what's gonna happen? Some sort of war between the two Earths?
Actually, the problem seems that the Earths are just Actually, the problem seems to be that the Earths are just the beginning. If we can't stop the process of happening, it'll eventually spawn new Earths exponentially until...
He left it hanging. Until what?
You'll have to
Katie asked. Renner shrugged.
You'll have to ask Zig.
He pointed off into the distance.
There needs to be
Did I-
quotations there.
Do we need
hey, look,
There
there's
needs to
a
be
picture right there.
quotations there.
Oh! Hey, look, there's a Zig tree right there. I see, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
When they got there, Zig didn't appear.
When they got there, Zig didn't appear.
Or push a button.
Do we need to call him or push a button? Katie asked.
Now that I think about it, he's usually just appears.
Renner answered absent-mindedly as he began to notice a big red mark on a nearby sap window. As he got closer, he saw a red mark was covering most of the earth through the window. Zig appeared, startling Katie, who let out a yelp. Welp? Renner turned around to see Zig apologizing profusely, saying,
I'm sorry. I'm all over Zig.
I'm sorry. I'm all over Zig.
It is me, after
I am all over Zig.
Should you need me, just
It is me,
say
after
my name
all.
and I'll-
Should you need me, just simply say my name and I'll appear.
Oh, what's with the red on the window? He asked.
Oh, what's with the red on the window? He asked.
Zig answered.
That is the progress for my initial scans of anything different between the two worlds. If the worlds become too distinct, the scan will reveal too much. If there is no difference, we will see that. But if there are a few things, that will tell us that the process hasn't happened and it is only incipient. If that is the case, all we need to do is simply remove the foreign entity, and all will return to the normal. The biggest problem is actually the four of you. The Flax children are so intertwined with the event that you are the cause of the initial separation.
Can't you keep them off Earth until this is resolved? Katie wondered.
Unfortunately, because they exist within Earth's timeline, they cannot be removed simply. Suffice to say that Hannah is no longer the problem, but you see what that cost her.
Zig bowed his head in shame.
I do not wish that on anybody.
Renner placed his hand on Zig's misty shoulder.
We're grateful you kept us alive. I know Hannah bears no ill will towards you, and I don't think she suffers unwillingly, just like me, Zig.
The dog is barking at the door.
The dog is barking at the door.
Yeah, she's orphan saying I'm gonna go out.
Zig smiled broadly.
Zig smiled broadly.
Thank you, child of Earth.
Hey Zig, can I
Katie remembered her question. Hey Zig, can I ask you a question?
He was in a good mood.
Simply ask.
He was in a good mood. So I get that the Earths will duplicate exponentially, but I mean, where's the harm in that? Renner thought she looked cute when she was confused.
The seed of consciousness ties all consciousness to a single source. It lies within the nearest gravitational power like Earth. When you leave the gravitational power, the forces simply remove you from the host entity, meaning you are no longer attached to the Earth. But should you return to Earth, it simply reabsorbs your awareness. However, consciousness exists in time, so if you are attached to another entity and die, the Earth has a right to your consciousness and will summon it. But if your host entity begins to replicate radically, well, the surge of consciousness can sweep you up. That is, unless you survive a surge of divinity, which is easier the more you've had to do it, and I've had a lot of practice, and I think that means Infra can withstand, he thinks he can withstand the forces.
That's a lot of words.
That's a lot of words.
Zig waited for any more questions. That whole line is all squinched.
I noticed.
It's weird. Are you saying that this is how gods are formed? Katie said, shocked. Zig nodded.
More or less.
Do it?
Renner hoped for a no.
Can he do it?
Renner hoped for a no, but instead...
I think it's likely we will need to plant a Zig tree on this Earth in the same location as he did.
Oh, you missed 2 lines. I think I could.
Wow, how did I do that? I think I could, but there are
Oh wow, how did I do that? I think I could, but there are over 8 billion people down there, and only one can survive. Unless there's a human that knows how to navigate the turbulence of divinity as well as I, we must push on.
Renner looked back at the Earth through the red distortion.
What else? Oh, I'm sorry.
It had made progress during the conversation. It was minimal.
What else should we expect from Infrazig?
It is likely we will need to
It is likely we will need to plant a Zig tree in the same location as he did on his. After the scan, we will know what we're dealing with. Zig looked up at the geode sticking out of the mountain. The regrowth was close to finished. Would you mind checking on it for me? Renner nodded. Katie smiled, excited to climb the mountain. Renner looked back at the red mark one last time. Then the pair headed for the geode.
As the day went on, they spent quality time with each other before heading back to the table of bounty. The first was the parents. When they got back, they found a seat and snacked on the fruits and nuts on the table. After some time, Otto and the girl showed up, still giggling. After they sat down, Hannah asked, "What were you two up to, Dad?" Robert gave his wife a big smile and said,
We sampled the coral at the lake.
Leslie perked up, saying, "It was absolutely the best light show I've ever been to at the bottom of a lake." Renner and Katie came walking in.
Zig showed us.
We have to show everyone something. Zig showed us.
Katie with a big smile on her face.
Who's ready to climb a mountain?
Excitedly said, "Who's ready to climb a mountain?"
Thank you.
Alright, so that first part is rough.
Yeah.
Dark.
Alright, so that first part is rough.
That
And
first-
dark.
It is dark.
Strange. Weird.
What am I trying to say with it?
I think,
But what am I trying to say with it?
well, first off, the mushrooms, tell things you're afraid to say to
Yes.
everybody.
The ones that are hiding the deepest bag.
Yes. That almost,
Not
it's
questions.
like,
Not questions.
not questions.
Feelings.
Feelings. But it's almost like with that first part, you're trying to say that people should talk to others they love and they trust, and that if you're feeling certain ways, you need to find someone to trust to tell those things to. We should bury those thoughts deep inside.
Even if it takes a hallucinatory, no, not hallucinatory, a mood-enhancing mushroom from an alternate plane of existence
Mm-hmm.
out in space.
And
Some other nonsense.
And I was just gonna
What were you gonna say?
And I was just gonna say that if you don't know anybody in your immediate life that you can trust, you should. There are things out there that you can. What is the words I'm looking for? There are words I'm looking for.
There are resources you can use.
Yes.
There are resources you can use to talk to someone. So even if you don't say it to someone that's close to you or that knows you, as long as you say it to somebody, it's important
Even
to
if
hear.
that person doesn't want to hear it.
Even if that person doesn't want to hear it.
There's resources out there.
Sadly, they'll find those people.
There's resources out there that
Yeah.
there are people that want to
Those
hear
are the
it.
people that want to.
But
Yes.
even then, they don't want to go to work.
But
and
even then, they don't
phone
want to
calls.
go to
If
work
they had a
and
day off work
get
because
those
nobody
phone
called,
calls.
that would
If
be-
they had a day off work because nobody called, that would be incredible.
they would love that. That would be good for them.
Yeah.
Even though it's not.
They would love
That's
that.
not
That would be
gonna pay
good
the
for
bills.
them, even though it's not.
But
That's not going to pay the bills.
and they're there
But
for people
they're there anyway,
Yeah.
and they're there for people
lots
who
of
need it
resources.
in the
So
moment.
we should scroll back up.
Lots of resources.
So we should scroll back up
Said all that stuff about these.
so we can do some
No, we've
editing.
said all that stuff about these dark dark concepts.
And here we go. now we gotta
And here we go.
actually
Now we got to actually
You
get
got
the
my
words
point.
down in a way that.
Yes.
I mean, you got my point at
take a
least.
mushroom to do
Yes.
this. You should be able to
It
laugh
shouldn't take a
about it.
mushroom to do this. You should be able to laugh about it
Set it to the other
and then
person so
get
they-
over it. Having said it to the other person so they've heard it and you connect
And
it.
not get over it like.
Don't use it to
And not get
manipulate
over it
her.
like.
And don't use it to manipulate. Don't use it to
Well,
hurt, for sure.
There's more to it than getting over it. Getting over it in this terms of getting through it, not
Yes.
not
Yes. Getting by it.
Getting
Getting
by
past it.
yes,
No, see, that all sounds wrong. You're the only one saying it right.
It's not the
Get
other
through
side
it.
that matters.
getting through
Through
it.
it. You don't get. It's not the other side that matters. It's the process that matters.
Yes.
In this chapter, in this part
So,
of the chapter,
in this part of the chapter with Hannah and Otto,
A lot about how they feel.
I'm not really talking about a lot
well,
about
she says
how
I'm
they
sad that I'm
feel.
going to outlive all.
well, she says I'm
Because
sad
they're
that
all
I'm going to
laughing.
outlive all that I'm going
What
to
does this
outlive
mean
you
for Hannah?
guys.
This actually doesn't really make a whole
And what does this mean for Hannah? Actually doesn't really make a whole
It
lot of
does make
sense.
Yeah, how could she do it?
It does make
Can
sense.
she? She's a
Yeah, how can she do it?
He
Can she? She's immortal.
that she was not. He stated that she was not tied by
That's true.
mortality, but she can still die.
She can't.
That's true.
She can't age.
So she can't
I
age.
think it's
She
her
can't
decision.
die of old age.
I think it's her decision.
Yeah.
Absorb her and then the consciousness
Trin
will
would
go
just
find something else.
Absorb her, and then the consciousness will go find something else to do. Because
So it's not
this
immortal
part is too
really
much.
in the strictest sense.
So it's not immortal really in the
Not
strictest
mortal.
sense. It's more not mortal
I think that's
anymore.
what Zig said. I don't think Zig said.
I think that's what Zig's saying. I don't think Zig said. No, I think he does say
Yeah,
immortal.
it's lost your mortality. is
He
what
does.
we're trying to get.
Yeah, lost your mortality is really what we're trying to get. I'm trying to
and
get
that's how
at.
He said that too.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. And that's how she says it too. I've been dealing with
Strange
losing my
concept.
mortality.
The strange concept.
Otto, I wonder for Otto. If
And then Otto, I wonder for Otto if this is the only reason
No,
why.
he needed it. He needed it, not
You need
her,
to hear
most
someone
of
else
all.
saying it
Yes.
so you can-
Yeah.
He needed to hear someone else saying it so he can
move past it
have the feelings a little validated and he can move past it. He's in a bad place.
Yes.
after seeing such
I mean, how could you not be
a loving
after seeing such a horror? A loving father, really. Can't say anything about a non-loving father.
and every now and again, they even
Uh,
say this shouldn't
and
be
every now and
laughed at.
again they even say this shouldn't be laughed at.
Censor the word. Like in the,
I might censor the word,
so it's not on
like in the video,
Yeah.
and we'll
So it's not on
we'll
the
try
screen.
and use the word self-harm.
You can
and
censor my
we'll
reading.
try and
But
use the
she's
word
not
self-harm
contemplating
only.
Yes.
But she's not contemplating
Otto
self-harm.
is, in a way.
Literally,
But-
And Otto is in a way,
But
Yeah.
she can't end it.
but she doesn't have to.
She's thinking.
But she
about
can't
it.
end it. So
The thought of it is.
she's thinking about it, and the thought of it is comforting to her
horrible
because
things she's gonna
of the
have to see.
horrible things she's going to have to
But she
see
gets the advantage
outliving
of seeing all the
everybody.
wonders of-
Yeah.
But she gets the advantage of seeing all the wonders of
It's
the
hard, it's
future.
hard.
So.
It's
It's hard. It's hard.
It is very hard to try to edit this
Such a serious.
in this moment.
And they're laughing.
Just 'cause
about
it's
it.
such a
It's all
serious-
dissonant.
Yeah, and they're laughing about it, and
And-
it's all dissonant. And that's my point.
okay.
Is that it doesn't.
I'm
That
not,
the
they're not
dissonance is
laughing about
okay.
it. They know they shouldn't be laughing.
I'm not. They're not laughing about it. They know they shouldn't be
They're
laughing about it, but the
feeling
laughter is
feeling
making
of
it so that way
sadness that comes
they're
from
not
saying it.
feeling the feeling of sadness that
And
comes
way they
from
can say
saying.
it without feeling
Yes.
And that way they can say it without feeling the, the compressing sadness from what Hannah is really going
Otto.
through.
Yeah.
Or Otto.
And
Or
Izzy's
Otto,
just there
yeah.
trying to be supportive.
And Izzy's just there trying to be supportive and kind. She doesn't
Well,
really say much.
Izzy does have a thing that's a big fear too, which is she's gonna winch somebody. And
Yeah.
She's just gonna winch their body.
But she doesn't think that way.
Hannah
That's a way that Hannah and Otto think.
Yes.
And she's
And
trying
that's
to
pretty
comfort
clear
her
in here too.
even if it does happen.
And she's trying to comfort her sister that even if it does happen, or Hannah does, she doesn't want to see it. She doesn't want it to happen.
So instead of saying moaning into her ear, say whispering.
Is there like a giggle whisper?
It's so awkward. But I want
It's
it
so
to be
awkward.
That's the problem. This should
But I
be-
want it to be awkward. That's
thing
the
that is-
problem.
that's
This should be
happening is
awkward.
not-
The thing that isn't that's happening is
It
not
should be said that anything
normal.
taken on Zig
Yes.
And it should be said that anything that's taken on Zig is
So,
specifically made
this is
for
not a
these people.
excuse to do
So
drugs. This is not saying
this is
drugs
not
are
a
okay.
excuse
This
to do
isn't saying
drugs.
going to
This
the
is not
forest
saying
and
drugs
taking
is
a bunch of
okay.
make you-
It doesn't say going to the forest and taking a mushroom is going to make you feel any better.
For these
No.
children on
But it is built for these children on this place. Zig is trying to help them through it in the way he knows how.
supportive but distant.
In the way that's supportive but distant, because trying to get as connected with someone that he's going to outlive is probably a struggle for him as well.
Well, and then in the previous chapter, he does mention to Otto perspectives are key.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows what is he can surmise. That's the right word. What's going to happen when they go into this forest? That truths are going to be laid bare.
Yeah, they all knew going in. Stuff was going to happen. It's important to look from other people's
But
perspective.
now Otto knows Hannah's fear.
Because now Otto knows Hannah's fear and Izzy's fear, and Hannah knows Izzy and Otto's fear.
From this on
And I think Renner has separated this from this on intentionally. He's with Katie,
I don't
and
think he's going through the same thing these three.
I don't
at
think
all.
he's going through the same thing these
He
three
kind of
are.
has a
At all.
completely different thing. That
He kind of has a completely different thing where he's kind of getting everything. He's got the sorry, let me finish. He's got the bladder, and he's got a loving wife and a brand new wife and infinite money.
Yeah.
So Renner's kind of
How could this
out
go
of
wrong
equation.
for
He
Renner?
hasn't seen all
So
the-
Renner's kind of out of this equation. He hasn't seen all the horror yet.
I'm sure he's thinking.
He'll get to it.
I'm
But
sure
he's
he'll.
strong.
I'm sure
And
he's
that's what
thinking
they
of
need
it
in
though.
the
But he's strong, and that's what they need in the
do it.
leader.
And
Yeah.
he's
They
showing
need him
by
to be the leader, and he can do it, and he's showing this by not needing to be here to support them,
Well,
but rather
and
be
then-
off on his own.
Well, and then this
Yes.
really is for Otto and Hannah.
Yes.
And Izzy's
I
strong
think
enough
take
to
some
be
of
able
what Hannah's
to.
feeling.
I think take some of what Hannah's feeling in
Yes.
this moment. I don't think Anna really has the control because they're all laughing.
It's so important to say
Yeah.
the words.
It's so
Leave your
important to say
comments
the
in
words.
sections below.
I mean,
Leave your comments in the sections below.
and they get up and play hide
This
and
is,
seek.
hard.
And they get up and play hide and
I
seek.
think
And
so.
is
I
that
think
just
that
a
they've
distraction
said
from
enough.
the?
I think so. I think that they've said enough hard things to say that they can go giggle and play a game instead
They're
of
doing
focus
it.
too
It's
much on
just
themselves
little
again.
bits at a time.
They're doing it. It's just
In the rest
little
between
bits at a
the
time in between
And
in the
chaos
rest
just
between the
provides more
chaos.
Yeah.
stuff.
And the chaos just provides more
And that's
of
what
this
Zig here
stuff
is
that they
doing.
need the rest
He's
for.
good standing by.
And that's what Zig here is doing. He's good standing by good,
Yes.
trying to help
But even our allies,
as best he can.
and that's what Zig is.
But even our allies can
Infra
fail.
Zig is
And that's what Zig is teaching in the
Even our
end.
allies-
Because Infra Zig is him.
Yes.
Even our allies will fail.
this line.
This line here.
Yeah, I think you're gonna be a superhero.
Yeah, I think you're gonna be a superhero. We could call you Metal Lady or Super Metal Lady. I don't know what they'll call you, but you'll be a hero. You've always been a hero to us.
This is more laid bare too.
This is more laid bare too.
I think,
He's saying something specific.
I
which-
think a part of what he's trying to say here, if I can just add it in, is
specific way connecting.
he's growing in a specific way connecting to
I just think that the
Hannah
dialogue-
herself. I just think that the dialogue is clunky.
I don't know what it should.
Okay, read it light.
I
Well,
don't know what it should
Okay, read it light, playful, with a little bit of laugh in your
also-
voice.
And
He's
maybe
also-
make it a little less clunky.
And maybe we can make it a little less clunky with that.
I don't know if it's going to help. I think it's just the words need to change.
I don't know if it's going to help. I think it's just the words need to change. I think he's trying to convey to Hannah that he's proud of her.
Okay.
In his own way.
Showing how much...
In his own way,
pushed her onto a pedestal.
showing how much he has kind of pushed her onto a pedestal.
Okay.
Maybe it's not a healthy way either, but he's doing
Okay.
it.
Maybe it's not a healthy way either, but he's doing it, and maybe he needs it for the situation he's in.
I want him to do it in his own way, and superhero doesn't necessarily...
I want him to do it in his own way, and superhero doesn't necessarily need to be the context.
So instead of going to be, could you say you could be a superhero? You could be like Superman.
Get rid of the superhero.
Yeah, I think I want to.
Or do you want to get rid of the superhero?
Yeah, I think I want to get rid of the superhero altogether. I've never really said Otto and
Okay,
superhero,
so what would
really.
Okay, so what would Otto
Otto
joke about?
Otto, probably, maybe he would go more like mythical.
Maybe he would say something more like...
Maybe he would say something more like,
You're like Hera.
you're like Hera from ancient
Freya.
Greece.
From the Norse mythology.
Or Freya
And that might...
from the Norse mythology.
That might...
And that might...
He's not as...
That might be a little more Otto.
carefree.
He's not as
learning.
carefree, and he does care about like learning and studying and stuff.
So he would go mythology more than superhero.
More than pop culture, yeah.
Okay. So what if he says? Well, and you would use the term goddess. What I think you'll be a goddess.
Is that more along the lines of what you're thinking?
Is that more along the lines of what you're thinking?
Kind of, yeah. We're in the right area for sure.
Kind of, yeah. We're in the right area for sure.
Then she wouldn't be.
Because then she wouldn't be called Metal Lady or Super Metal Lady.
She would be the goddess of something.
She would be the goddess of something.
A goddess of.
What would Hannah be a goddess of? Stability.
What are you trying?
Armor. Oh, goodness.
What are you trying?
Yeah.
Armor. O-R. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's still not spelled right.
How do you you are?
Oh my goodness.
I think there.
Oh my goodness.
There we go. My brain stopped. Okay.
There we go. There we go. My brain stopped farting. Okay.
I think you're a goddess like a thing covered.
I think you're a goddess like Athena, covered in armor, or Freya.
Badass warrior woman. Yes.
Badass warrior woman. Yes.
I don't know what they will call you.
I don't know what they will call you.
I think you're like a goddess, like Athena, covered in armor. Freya, badass warrior woman. You've always been a hero to us.
What if you say you're always been watching her?
What if you say you're always been watching over us? Something to that effect, because she could do that across the earth.
You've always been there.
Yeah, you've always been there for us.
Let's stop being...
And then Izzy breaks it up and says, "Let's go. Let's stop being so freaking real and play a game."
Let's take a break from our moment for a moment.
And then there's this. This is where I first get into the dialogue of how stuff happens in this kind of
Yes.
metaphysical
Lots
context.
of big words
Yes.
jammed into here.
Big
So-
words. Lots of
If you
big
have
words get
any
jammed into
understanding
here.
of this,
And if you have any understanding of this,
let me know.
and you're listening to
Seriously,
this,
I wrote a bunch of gibberish.
let me
It
know.
makes sense.
Seriously, I wrote a bunch of gibberish, and if it makes sense, I would love to know that it makes sense.
So Renner and Katie were running alongside of along the outside of Zig. So it shouldn't be outside of
Around the
Zig.
edges, along the edges of Zig.
Around the edges.
Around the edges, along the edges of Zig, yeah.
Along the edges
Yes,
of Zig.
that
Because
actually sounds way
outside
better.
would be space.
Yeah.
Outside of Zig is space.
So
Okay.
she doesn't get something.
Along the edges of
He
Zig.
doesn't get it.
So she doesn't get something, and he doesn't get it either.
Fucker.
So he points at Zig and says, "Hey,
And
Zig."
then gets
Yes.
distracted.
Talk to him.
because he sees
So
something.
And then
Renner-
gets distracted because he sees something on
What
the
is
sap
happening
window.
there? Did I describe that
Mhm.
well?
And what is happening
it's
there?
like
Did I describe that well enough?
to me, it's like there's this
red.
that the Earth looks red.
Most of it.
And,
Most of it.
There's like a film.
And
There's like a film of red being
So before we get
overlaid on that window.
so before we get any further to that, the red.
The red is a scan in progress.
The red is a scan in progress.
So it doesn't matter that Infra
He's not
Zig isn't there.
scanning Infra-Zig.
'Cause red
He's
is-
not. He's not scanning Infra-Zig.
The
How do I
Earth
say
that's
this? He's
down
not
there.
scanning
from
the Earth that's down there. He's scanning the Earth from the red dimension that's down there.
Mm.
From the other dimension. From the other dimension isn't the right word.
What's the thing? It's like.
What's the thing? It's like right next to this.
I don't know what it's called. It might be dimension. It's
I
not
don't know what it's
dimension.
called. It might be dimension. It's not dimension though. That's not the right word.
It's like the other universe.
And is he scanning both Earths?
like the other
He's
universe.
seeing where the mistakes are.
What he's doing is he's seeing where the
Where
mistakes
differences
are.
between the two. The red is showing how much.
Where the
he scanned.
differences are between the two. The red is showing how much he scanned of it.
The-
And then once he's done scanning it, he'll know the
So the
the
scan
differences
is showing
between the two worlds.
the detailed
So the scan is showing
that Zig
the
could
detailed
understand,
information
translated
that
in
Zig could understand and probably translated in
That-
some way for the humans.
of what's happening.
That
You'll see a
of what's
spot.
happening on the
It all
other
kinda-
Earth. Like you'll see a spot.
moot
It all kind of
because they get
it's moot
end.
because they get HQ,
It's kind of a spoiler.
which is the end of this.
You don't know what
Just
that
kind of a
means.
spoiler.
Right.
That's what they're-
You don't know what that means, but that's what Banner and Katie are excited about at the
Are
end.
they at a full run? Are they at
And
a
so,
jog?
are they at a
just kinda
full
jogging.
run? Are they at a jog?
I think they're just kind of jogging along the side. Yeah, just kind of getting
Kinda,
exercise.
yeah, like
And
literal-
Renner's
literally,
staring off
he's
into
running
space,
alongside
literally?
her.
Kind of, yeah, like literally. He's running alongside her, looking out the windows, kind of staring off into the vastness of the emptiness of space.
Okay.
Okay, I get how you're trying to save the galaxy. and all.
Okay, I get how you're trying to save the galaxy and all, but what are you saving it from? I feel like that's said perfectly fine.
It's still thinking.
It's still, I think.
Staring.
He said, still staring out the window. Staring out the window. Staring at.
Yeah, problem
I feel like I said that as one word.
Yeah, but the problem seems to be that the Earths are just the beginning. If we can't stop the process from happening, it will eventually spawn new Earths until, and then she's like, until what? And he goes, I don't know, ask Zig.
Make sure you put your quotation marks at the beginning of that.
Where? Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Buick.
So put a quote at
yeah, but the problem.
So put a
Seems to
quote
be-
at, yeah, but, yeah.
Oh, right at the beginning. Nope.
That's what I said.
I'm sorry, I'm deaf
You'll
and
have to
blind.
ask Zig. You can off to the distance. There's a Zig
You'll have to
tree
ask
right
Zig. He pointed off to the distance. There's a Zig tree right there.
Zig didn't appear.
When they got there, Zig didn't appear. Do we need to call him or push a
Now that I
button?
think about it, he usually just appears.
Now that I think about it, he usually
Still
just
looking out the
appears.
Yeah, this time he sees the map.
And he's still looking out the
Yes.
window.
Yeah, this time he sees the map mark on the
covering most
window.
of
Yes.
Earth through the window. So that's where you learn how much.
It was covering most of Earth through the window, so that's where you learn how much it's covering. Most of Earth.
all over Zig.
what was she saying?
It is me.
I'm all over Zig. It is me after
So
all.
Otto saying thank you to Zig.
So Otto saying thank you to Zig
You heard it. Yeah,
was
you heard it, for sure.
Yeah, he heard
Act.
it. Yeah, he heard it for sure. Well, I need to do this.
Italicize is. So I'm all
he
over.
needs
I
to.
am.
Italicize is. So I'm all over
Should
Zig.
you need me?
I am. It is me after all. Should you need me, just simply say my name and I'll appear.
What's
So-
with the red in the window?
What's
So-
with the red in the window?
Now he says
It's a progress for my initial scans. of-
progress. So it's a progress.
Uh-huh.
Progress
Okay.
of the
Anything different between the two worlds.
So it's a progress of the things different
Okay,
between the
so
worlds.
The scan will reveal too much.
what
Okay,
my
so
curiosity is
what my curiosity is, what would
Oh
it
my
look
goodness. It might be too much has changed.
the scan will reveal that too much has changed.
like? The scan will reveal that too much has
If there's no
changed.
difference, we will
Okay.
see that.
If there is no
If there are only a
difference,
few
we will see that.
That tells us that
But
the
if there are only a
process
few
hasn't
things,
happened.
that
So
tells us that the process
next
hasn't
division
happened.
that's
So
supposed to happen
the
isn't
the
gonna
next
happen.
division that's
It's
supposed to
going
happen
but it
isn't going to
hasn't
happen.
happened. Like the
It's
process
going to,
hasn't
but it
begun.
hasn't happened.
So
Like the process
the
hasn't
first
begun
catalyst.
yet. So, like the
We're safe
first
on this.
catalyst hasn't happened. So we're safe on this so far.
Okay. It's only incipient.
All they gotta do is
Remove
remove
foreign
Zig.
entity. So all they gotta do is
And
go
then the
remove
problem
Zig.
is the Flax children.
And
Well-
then the problem is the Flax children.
Yes.
And Katie wonders why they take them off the planet. And then
And Katie wonders, well, we'll just take them off the planet, and then it can
but
fix
they
itself,
exist
right?
within the timeline.
Uh-huh.
But they don't. They
Yeah.
exist within the timeline. They can't. You can't just take it out because they exist within the timeline. Of Earth.
They're too
They've
connected.
made
They're,
that connection.
they're too connected.
Yeah, they've made that connection, and it's gonna be there because you can't erase that time they spent there, except for the way that Hannah did, but that hurts.
And he's Renner being an awesome leader saying,
And he's Renner being an awesome leader, saying, you're doing a great job, Zig. We love you. Right?
Yeah.
No one hurts. No one's suffering here unwillingly. Very important for Zig to hear, and he's grateful.
And it's very important that Renner points out that she is suffering, but she's doing it.
Yes, and he is too. He's saying he is too,
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing it willingly.
So what's the
And then Katie had a question. So what's the harm in duplicating the Earths?
Yes. So before we move on, it says, "Hey Zig, can I ask you a question?"
Yeah, he's just like
Yeah,
Simply ask.
yeah. She's just like, just ask.
You don't have to ask me to ask
Yeah,
the question.
yeah. Just ask.
Okay. So I
Don't
get that the Earths will duplicate exponentially,
I love the line that comes out.
but where's the harm in that? Renner thought she looked so cute when she was confused.
So let me read this.
So let me read this part out loud.
Yeah, you
and
see if you can help make sense.
see
of
if
it
I
through
can
words.
help. The seed of consciousness ties all consciousness to a single source. It lies within the nearest gravitational power, like Earth. When you leave the gravitational power, the forces simply remove you from the host entity, meaning you are no longer attached to the Earth. Should you return to Earth, it simply reabsorbs your awareness. However, consciousness exists in time, so if you are attached to another entity and die, the Earth has a right to your consciousness and will summon it. But if your host entity
This is
begins
a
to
whole different
replicate
thing.
radically,
So normally
This is a whole different thing.
uh-huh.
So normally, if you are born on a planet and you leave the planet, the seat of consciousness, SEAT, for those of you listening, the seat of consciousness is where all consciousness resides. And we are like pulling from it to have an awareness of the Earth around us.
metaphysical nonsense, as far as I know.
This is all metaphysical nonsense as far as I know. It's just fictitious fantasy
And then
stuff.
He goes on because
But
if that's the
then
way
he
it
goes
normally
on
is,
because
when it starts duplicating,
if that's the way it normally is, if when it starts duplicating, we've got a serious problem because divinity has a chance to grab hold. And to me, that means that someone can start taking that seed of consciousness, form a new one, and start pulling away from it. And they become the divinity that is holding all of the consciousness. And Zig is a representation of that.
What I feel like
He has a center inside of him that's the seed.
knowing what's happening and knowing what your intention was is that basically what's happening is that the Earth is a single cell, and when it splits off into two, it has the same exact information, just like our cells in our body do. And the goal that Infrazig is trying to do is keep splitting it until it creates a full being.
In a way, he becomes that full being.
And all that consciousness
That's what his goal is.
that was on the Earth now
him,
becomes
Zig is right now.
Like him, like Zig is right now.
yes.
But they can take that form in any way they want.
This is the way that Zig
Yeah.
has chosen, and so if
And
Infrazig
this
takes
is the
over,
way that Zig has
he is
chosen.
no
And so if
longer
Infrazig takes over,
attached to that one part.
he is no longer just attached to that one part of Zig. In fact, he's gone entirely and a deity in his own right. Much like Zig.
And the only thing that can survive this whole process
Well,
is Infrazig,
Well,
because
That's the only one
Zig
he
has
wants to
done
take
this
into
before.
account.
that's the only one he wants to take into account.
The reason why
There's another entity that could possibly
The reason
survive
why,
this.
he says the reason why that he thinks Infrazig can do it is because Infrazig has had experience with it.
Yes.
Because he's been a
But
part
just
of
because
Zig.
you've had experience with it doesn't mean you can't.
But just because you've had experience with it doesn't mean you can't do it.
What I feel
know?
like is kind of happening. Okay, so let's take our nerdy TV shows into account here, and we go Stargate.
Okay.
When O'Neill gets all the information of the ancients in his brain, it's too much for his brain to handle. Right?
Yes.
So if a human were to do this, it's too much for their
well, unless the human has
brain
been
or
Yes.
body
Well,
or-
unless the human has been modified in some way.
correct.
And I'm speaking specifically of Hannah.
Yes.
Zig knows Hannah has a chance. It's just not likely. Not as likely as Infra Zig. And Infra Zig's got his plans on it.
And it's
So-
not something he wants to add on to Hannah. And
Yeah, and all this other stuff.
And everybody on
Yeah.
Earth would be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And
And it would just be Hannah and Hannah.
So
That'll make sense later.
Yes. So. Okay.
this is actually should say.
Okay.
And this is actually should say
But they're over it.
But they're over it.
There's 2 Earths.
because
16?
there's 2 Earths.
There's 2 Earths. 16 billion people down there, and only one can
So that
survive.
navigating the turbulence of divinity is how I'm saying
All the souls to a single
attach
source. And that single
all the
source
souls to a single
for
source.
Zig
And that
would
single
be
source
what he has
for
inside
Zig
him, which is the
would be
Genesis.
what he has inside of him, which is the Genesis seed. And for Hannah, it would be the
But not the,
it would be
not the
Hannah.
human Hannah.
It'd be the living
but not
metal.
the human Hannah. Yeah, it would be the living metal.
It'd be
For
the living
simplicity.
metal.
Almost
For
like
simplicity's sake.
For simplicity.
It's almost like
the entire Earth's consciousness.
it's almost like you take the entire
That seat
Earth's
in.
consciousness.
Yeah, you take that seat.
that
and
seat.
duplicate it,
Yeah, you take that seat and you
Every
duplicate
thought
it
that
and you
ever
duplicate it.
existed.
All the possibilities, everything that comes from it, it just goes
You have this
into you. You are now the
transhuman-
seat. And you have this transhuman ability, meaning you're more powerful than humans could possibly imagine being,
I think you did.
which is divinity in a lot of ways.
I think you did well with
This
explaining
time
that.
when I read it through.
This time when you read it through,
But if your host
it started to
entity-
make more sense
he
in
says
my
host
brain.
But if your host entity, he says host entity, he can mean Earth. If her Earth begins to replicate radically, well, then the surge of consciousness can sweep
anyone
you
who's ever
up.
had in a timeline,
Any everyone,
including Zig,
Yes.
anyone who's ever had in a timeline, including Zig, in a lot of ways,
because
because
he
he's
has a
attached
seat
to the
of
Earth now.
consciousness,
But because he has a seat of consciousness, and I mean, he could get away from the surge. He knows how to navigate the turbulence of divinity,
Yeah.
which
I feel like
Well,
which
in-
I think is an eloquent way of saying it.
I feel like Infra Zig is tied to the Earth now, but Zig maybe not so
that,
much.
that is because I mean Infra Zig,
And that is because Infra Zig, if Infra Zig got his divine, it got his divinity, he could absorb
Zig
Zig.
could get away.
Oh, okay.
Zig understands.
He could,
how
but
to-
Zig could get away.
He knows how to
Zig
navigate.
understands how to get away. He knows how to navigate that turbulence.
more or less.
Are you saying
that's-
this is how
that's,
God's formed?
I feel
More or
like that's
less.
him
And that's
I feel like that's him saying
You don't really understand
yes
what
because
But
it's
you
the
don't-
easiest way to explain
you don't
it.
really understand what you mean when you say God in this sense. you know.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
The
much.
answer isn't no.
Can he do it?
And the answer isn't no.
I think I could.
There are 16.
I think I could.
and only one can survive.
But there are 16 billion people down there, and only one can survive.
Yeah.
So if he can, that means Infra Zig probably.
So not only that, not
Right.
only can
That's what he's saying by
So
I
not
could.
only that, not only can
there's no guarantee
he
could survive.
might be able to, so there's no guarantee he could survive doing this thing, but 8 billion people would be
It
dead,
would be 16. Both
and
Earths
it's not
would
really worth it, is it?
Well, it would be
no, it would be
16.
more than
Both
16
Earths
by
would be
the end.
gone.
Both Earths.
Well, no, it would be more than 16 by the end. 16 to 32 to...
more, and the more
Yeah,
there
it
is,
gets
then
exponentially more and more, and the more there is, then you would need a new seat.
There would be no Earth.
a new seat.
Yeah, you would need a new seat. A new seat to hold all that consciousness, and it's not within one Earth.
Yeah.
So Zig could take advantage of that and just make one conscious.
Like Lou will need to plant a Zig tree on this Earth in the same location.
He's
as he
explaining how
did
they're going to have to deal with it.
on his.
Yes.
So is that to keep things the same?
Yes,
can't
if you can keep the things the same,
But then
he
again,
can't push as hard.
people riled up on one
But then again, he's got people riled up on one
not gonna
side,
get
which is not good,
Yeah.
and it's not going to get any better.
Um.
And this is kind of a different thought,
He says, so
but
He
it's the
wants to
same
show them the
thing. He
regrowth.
says so.
of the crystals.
He wants to show them the
He wants to
regrowth
check on them, and then
of the
at end,
crystals, and he wants to check on them,
They
and then
found
at the end,
and they need to show people.
they found
So
something,
Zig showed him.
and they need to show people.
If you
So,
didn't.
so Zig showed them
And then the
something.
girls never came.
If you didn't get that,
The girls did come
Yes.
back.
and then the girls
Oh,
never
it's
came
up
back.
Yes, it is.
The girls did come back.
They were
Oh, it's up here.
Yes, it is. They were still
I
giggling.
feel like that was a healing moment for Otto, Hannah.
I feel like that was a healing moment for Otto, Hannah, and Izzy.
That was the goal of writing it, not to
Ever.
glorify any kind of self harm,
No.
ever.
Robert does say.
Robert does say.
Robert
Oh, wait.
Does say something about.
What am I doing?
getting
Robert does say something about
Yes.
getting words out. We talked about
kind
it in
of-
Tears of
Yes.
the Dragon.
Yes.
So do
It's a
you,
kind of magic to it.
do you remember your word for word or close enough?
There's no kind of magic to saying the
Kind
words.
of
Uh huh.
That's it.
And Stephen King wrote
It's a kind
about
of magic.
this in his,
And Stephen King wrote about this in his...
he was writing about
Is it an
writing.
autobiography?
And
He was writing about writing.
writing
And
is
in the book, he said that writing is a kind of magic in that I can take an idea in my head,
you can
do something, and then you can do something and have that idea in your
I
head.
didn't actively make you understand.
I didn't actively
not
make
saying
you
the words
understand
and
it.
you're not hearing them.
Like, I'm not
Instead,
saying the words and you're
another
not hearing them.
process.
Instead,
Kind of magic
it's
in that
another process. It's a kind of magic in
the
that
connection is wanted on both sides.
the connection is wanted on both sides. I think podcasting is similar. People want to listen when they hear it and they stick by.
Yeah.
They want to hear the words.
They want to hear the words
People want to hear the words.
that are said.
They don't know how to get the words.
People want to hear the words. They just don't know how to get the person to say the right words.
No. And sometimes we misinterpret words that other people. And sometimes we misinterpret words that other people say.
little ending here.
Cute little ending here before we... I mean, this is where it starts to get real dark.
Starts to get lots of fighting, really cool combat.
Starts to get lots of fighting, really cool combat.
How do I say it?
Really, I think I got... How do I say it? It's a whole scene that takes place in a large building with them coming from different points of entry. It's really fun, I think, that the way I wrote it, that you can kind of get it all happening all at once.
No, I think you did really well with this one. I don't think there's much to change, except for you need to capitalize Infra Zig. I think
It is a name.
it is a name.
Okay.
Let's write the recap.
Well, let's write the recap.
Let's write the recap.
All right. Why do you do this to me, huh?
So these are the last good days.
So these are the last good days.
From this
Yeah.
point on, the mission has started.
From this point on, the mission has started. Because the scan will be done in the next chapter. And they'll have the information. And a really helpful way to navigate in and outs of buildings and stuff like that. So they can really get in there and do the most good.
So,
I think this.
It's going to be
so
fun. I think it's going to be fun. I think that's the last hard part of the story. And now it's going to be juicy.
All right.
They're going to be kicking butt. All right. Last good days.
So mushrooms that reveal
Oh.
hard truths. Hard truths. Three kids reveal hard truths. Yeah. Three kids reveal hard truths. Yeah. Renner gets a hint at the plan.
He's running around the edges and he gets the hint from Zig what's going to happen and kind of how everything's running. And then
They go see what Zig left for them, or what Zig was growing.
Well, we could do this too.
You typed the word hole
bad.
backwards. You typed the word hole backwards. The last family get together.
The last one.
it's the last one.
Like they're all together in the end. And now they're gonna go
Like
up
they're all together in the end.
Last enjoyable
And now they're
family
going to go up
get-together.
and...
The last
Start it.
enjoyable family get together.
I might have to change it in the future.
A whole lot of gibberish.
I might have to change it in the future. But I might be right.
Doom and gloom.
Okay.
Doom and gloom.
Thank you all for
The world is
listening.
over. Alright. Thank you all for listening.
Remember,
We love you.
we love you, and if you need to talk
Comment.
to somebody, we'll make sure we post
You'll see
some
it in
phone numbers at the end.
You'll see it in the description for sure.
Yeah, I could probably do something visually on YouTube.
Yeah.
Spotify.
Yeah, I could probably do something visually on YouTube, yeah. But
Yeah.
in Spotify you won't be able to see it.
Spotify, you won't be able to see it. But But we'll make sure we put some of those resources out there if you need to talk to somebody.
Always.
There's someone willing to listen.
Always. Frustrating.
Well, we love you. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Well, we love you. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Take care of your mental. Take care of your mental.
Take care of your
Have a good
mental.
day.
Take care of your mental health.
Take care of your mental health. Bye.